Hello everyone. The Arbiters are the Siren's second generation unit. Far more powerful and with more autonomy than the lower level programs we're very used to could ever dream of. Amongst these individualised superweapons there's one that particularly stands out to me. Its sixth member, the Lovers. Let me elaborate. The Lovers' role among the Arbiters seems to be resource gathering and manufacturing. Pretty much every time we've seen her, she's been pulling stuff apart and reshaping them into war material, or leading some of her creations in combat. This makes her the backbone of any prolonged conflict the Sirens find themselves in. To be fair, other Arbiters have this ability as well. Helena Meta did something similar using the Tower to create Observer's new home. But that's the Tower which can do seemingly whatever the plot demands, and I'm not touching that shit with a 10-foot pole. Here's the thing. Naval strategy is built strategy. How you fight is entirely dependent on your force composition. You can't just switch to a vastly different way of waging naval war unless you have the necessary ships to pull it off. Going from big fleet battles to unrestricted submarine warfare is a bit difficult if you lack the necessary submarines. There's no throwing out troops into the meat grinder to stall the enemy. If you don't have the ships, you can't wage naval war. Period. And you have to account for the years-long lead time of building a fleet. Unfortunately for us, this is where the Lovers excels to a truly ludicrous extent. We don't know exactly how much time has passed between Bonhomme Richard noticing Test Site Beta in the full scales, and her arrival outside it in light-chasing Sea of Stars, but it can't have been that long. Even if we go off their release dates, there's a little over 4 months. In universe it might be less. It might also be more, but I doubt it. And in that time, she was able to construct a truly dazzling defense line around the entire timeline in order to stall Bonnie. Not to mention the entire test site worth of resources in reserve. To quote the scene itself, "Countless interceptor weapons filled the sky, accompanied by floating fortresses as far as the eye could see. From land to sea to even the heavens, a curtain of steel rose high. It was like a hive of epic proportions. Anti-X's fleets moving to and fro between defensive structures like worker bees. There were humanoid units on patrol, warships of every size, massive ships for moving cargo, swarms of drones and unmanned aircraft. This massive orchestra with guns in place of instruments was conducted silently by one girl, her skin pale and her eyes emotionless." Here's the kicker about all this though. All of the Sirens' weaponry and ships are autonomous. There is zero need to train crews, or keep those crews fed. In fact, they're not even there, because they're autonomous, obviously. Everything the Lovers builds converts directly into new combat power. Straight from the production line to the battlefield, with no additional steps in between. She alone makes winning an attritional war impossible. If one side does not win early through sheer power, Lovers allows the Sirens to reconstitute their losses and generate additional combat power far faster than any enemy could hope to, and crush their opposition. Depending on what she could create, she could also make the other Sirens so much harder to kill. As we know, the only way to truly kill a Siren is to destroy their mainframe, so they can't upload themselves to a new body, and then destroy whatever body is housing their consciousness. That's it, that's how you kill them. However, if she can just build more mainframes, all the other Sirens need to do is just lay low until they can connect to their new home, and then continue on just as they were. The Lovers can effectively rebuild their immortality and restart their opponent's entire process of taking one of them out of the picture. That's also not mentioning the mech arbiters. According to Helena Meta, these high-end weapons are difficult to produce and field in large numbers. But are they really though? Resources are a non-issue, they've left so many destroyed worlds in their wake to strip mine that they'll never run out reasonably. And if they somehow do, well, it's not hard for them to make more. Sure, they might be hard to manufacture, but that's the Siren's whole thing. You want me to believe that self-improving AI weapons, who fuck with the weather for shits and giggles, can't run a climate-controlled factory in some mirror sea somewhere? Come on! Seriously? If the Sirens found themselves on actual total war footing, instead of just experimentation or crushing the enemy, they'd be cranking out their best weapons as fast as they could. Going back to that strip mining thing I brought up a second ago, the Lover seems to be responsible for that too. We see the result of this in Light Chasing Sea of Stars, where the gang finds themselves in a branch where she's extracted every last resource she possibly could. Right down to distilling the entire ocean for any usable materials dissolved within, leaving behind just plain drinkable water and nothing else. The fact that Empress can say a branch worth of resources in reserve so casually speaks volumes of the scales Lovers can operate on. And she can use them to self-repair too. She's most likely one of the weaker arbiters in terms of combat strength, but that doesn't mean she goes down easily. She may be a lover, not a fighter, but that doesn't make her weak. And that's what makes the Lover so terrifying. She's a self-healing one-woman supply chain who can churn out a navy's worth of ships in a week while still working on half a dozen other things. And don't forget, she's still functionally immortal like the rest of the Stealthware Sirens. Unless you destroy her mainframe, she's just gonna keep coming back. In a war with the Sirens, she has to be one of the first to go, overwhelmed before she has time to build up sufficiently to push you back, or else she will outbuild you and smother your forces. You cannot beat her through attrition, you must overpower her, and fast, or else she will make fighting her colleagues so much harder, if not impossible for all the reasons I've just listed. And that's where we'll end it today. Do you think my glazing is warranted? Or is another arbiter a bigger threat? Let me know, and as always, fair winds and following seas.